The daf from over there.
Well, this is where I said I want you going to be able to rest.
Okay. Learning sponsors year of learning, friends of Herb Jeremiah, Tzvi Ben Zev, friends of Sam Coleman, Shmuel Ben Yaakov, friends of Gideon Lazinski, Mordechai Shlomo Ben Meir, Bella and David Adler, in memory of her father Eliyahu and Yosef Cohen. Those who were inspired by our Rebbetzin Emeritus Sheila Shapiro, Sarah Stamalka, Bad Meshulam Yisachar, Gail and Leslie Kaplan, in memory of their parents, Mushka Sprinza Bad Yosef Chaim Bechava, Hanan Ben Moshe Eliezer Vachana, Pesha Bat Shmuel Yitzchak Alevi Vitzipora, Isra Ben Yoam Moshe Cohen Vachana, Rexford Friends of Gladys Sherman, Gota Bad Meir, Michael Klein and friends of Judah Klein, Yehuda Tzvi Ben Chaim, Marsha Bronner, in memory of her husband, Rav Yerachmiel Ben Shmuel, friends and family of Arthur Ritholtz, Mordechai Yudel Ben Baruch Leib HaKohen, friends and family of Sigi Bessler, Shalom Shraga Ben Dov, friends of Marvin Weinstein, Mordechai Ozer Ben Yisrael Aharon. A month of learning by Perry and Jill Meltzer in memory of his mother, Malka Bat Baruch, and his sister Golda Leib David Halevi. Carol and Josh Sanborn in memory of her father, Yoshua Shir Ben Moshe Yehuda Cohen. Ike and Evelyn Blachor, Hakarat Tov for his continuing recovery from recent surgery. Rabbi Dr. Yankee and Malki Honig, in memory of his mother, Rabbanit Hensha Ita Bat Chaim Yehuda. Hannah and David Grunblad, in memory of her mother, Rosa Bas Chaim. Jill and Perry Meltzer, in memory of her father, Yaakov Ben Yosef. B. Pizer, in memory of her stepfather, Avram Michal Ben Shmuel Halevi. B. Pizer, in memory of her mother, Razel Bat Shammai. Jerry and Sharon Glassman, in memory of his mother, Malka Yudith Bat Eliyahu. Henry Katz and children, in memory of his wife, Lila Leah Mintka Bas Yehuda. A week of learning by Michael and Judith Paretsky, in memory of his brother, Chaim Tzvi Ben Gershon. Judy Schiff, in memory of her mother, Chaya Chava Bat Menachem Mendel. A day of learning by Straha and Dr. Perry Grossman, Sarah and Dr. Perry Grossman, in honor of the annual dinner honorees. Gail and Milton Miller, in memory of their friend Marvin Weinstein. Today is the 9th. There are no individual days of learning. And Hashem have an aliyah, crank of here, very sure with the Choban Israel good bench.
All right, so we learned at the conclusion yesterday that there's a machlokes between bringing supplies to an uman and asking him to craft something for you, or bringing him the object and asking him to repair. And there may be a machlokes, if you only bring the wood, then he doesn't have to pay for the carriage. If he makes the carriage almost completely and then messes up. So the underlying source for that dispute is a fundamental dispute. Does the uman own what he created, and then you buy it from him, in word buy in quotes, at the conclusion of the project? Or is he working on your behalf and you own the improvements, and then you're paying him for his time, effort, supplies, etc. So once again, if I make something for you, is it mine until you pay me for it? Or was it always yours? And that's going to color what we're going to learn today. So we'll start at the very bottom. Lema Messiah, let's say that the following Mishnah supports the notion that the craftsman has to give back the wagon in perfect condition, or if it's made out of wood and he messes up the wood, he has to replace the wood and make a carriage in perfect condition to you. You get the very last, we're on basically Sadi test. Don't bother because we finished that already. Okay. V'hikdihu yored. And he heats the vat of dye too much, or flames lift up on the side in some manner. But when he puts your wool into the dye vat, he burns your wool. He destroys your wool. Noisin lo demeit samro. Does he simply, all he does is he says, look, I ruined your wool. You had $15 worth of wool. Here's either $15 worth of wool or $15 in cash. Okay, demeit samra ain, he pays to replace the unprocessed wool, demeit samro v'shivcho lo. But he does not replace the material and the effort and the now new color wool. So the shevach, the improvement to the wool, he does not give you, which means that it's his, okay? Lav shehekiduhu la'achar nefila. So we're talking here where the vat was, when he put the wool in, the brown, the sheep, the unprocessed wool became red, and then it went on fire. In which case, it's a raya that he owns the improvement. The Ika Shevcha, because there was an improvement and it got damaged. Oshmamina, you can see for that, I Uman kind of b'shevach keli. So based on this burned wool, making the assumption that the dye took hold in the wool prior to it getting burned, and yet all he does is replace unprocessed wool or money, that's a raya that he owns the red wool. You have a chelik in it because you own the unprocessed wool, but he owns the improvement and the value of the improvement. So we're going to challenge that. Omer Shmuel says, and what are we talking about? Where the wool was burned simultaneously with the dye affecting it. So therefore there was no real shevach, there was no improvement to the wool, so the case proves nothing. Okay, because we never had the uman, the workman, gaining any equity because he made an improvement. It was burned right before the improvement took hold. Aval, hekdihu la'achar nefila mai. So now the Gemara says, well, what if the wool did get red before it burned? No son lo demeit samro v'shvacho. According to Shmuel, who says that the owner of the wool owns the improvement, so then the dyer should have to replace the wool and either re-dye it or give you the extra money that red wool commands over unred wool. Okay, because so Lema Shmuel lastly the Rebbe Yassi. So now we see that Shmuel disagrees with Abasi. That's the issue we're talking about. We're talking about improvement. Everybody agrees. You break my thing, you have to replace it or pay for it. What we're talking about here is you gave me your thing and asked me to do something with it. I do the something with it. Who owns the something? Okay, when we so Shmuel says that you do not. The workman does not own anything. What he did is time and effort, and you owe him money for time and effort, but he has no chelek, no incidence of ownership in the object, even though he spent 500 hours taking mahogany pieces and making a yacht out of it. Right? Okay. So now we see that Shmuel may disagree with Ravasi. So Shmuel answers, Omer Loch Shmuel, what does Shmuel answer? Hachabamayaskin, and here's what we're talking about. A totally different case. You own the wool. You happen to have a vat. You happen to have dye. So you hire someone to use your vat, your dye, your wool, but you don't know the formula, how long to let it sit in there. So you hire a bucky, an uman, somebody who knows what he's doing, and he does the processing. So you already owned everything, okay? Kigon de tzemer v'samonin de balabayas. You own the wool and you own the dye. V'tzeva agar de yedehu de shokil. And the only thing that the workman, the dyer, gets is pay for his time and effort and knowledge. Then they'll take it, it didn't tire, and you'll owe him money. Okay, on the other hand, he can keep your object, because the halacha is wherever the object of a debate is, it remains in the hands of the holder until the other side makes a proof. So in this case, the owner of the wool would not be able to prove that he paid him if he didn't pay him. Okay. So, but we're going to challenge that too. Ihachi noisen lo demeit samro v'sam simonim miboile. So now we're saying that if that was the halacha, the Mishnah should have said so. The Mishnah never says that. The Mishnah says you brought him a wagon and he fixed it for you. Or maybe in the first clause, you brought him the wood and he built the wagon for you. But he did the shevach. Shevach is his. So ihachi noisen lo demeit samro v'simonim miboile. So the Mishnah should have said, if you supply all the parts, then and he messes up, he has to fix it and would cover the cost of all the parts. Ella Shmuel dechuye kom medache le. So it turns out that the Gemara now says that Shmuel didn't really mean what he said. What he was doing was bringing a decent challenge to what Rav Ashi said. All right, now going weiter, we're going to still go into this business about a workman or a laborer, an uman or a poel. And then there's a concept we'll come up with called a kablan, where you have a contractual arrangement with someone to complete a project. That's a kablan. So he says, I'll build a wall for you for $100. Do you owe him? What if his work stops in the middle? Do you owe him anything? So there's a machlokes. Does he accrue his pay as he proceeds, or is his pay only acquired at the end of the project? Those are the concepts we're going to deal with. Does he own the improvement? What is the difference between an uman and a poel? And within the concept of uman, the story of a kabbalah. Okay, so we're going to go into that. Toshma, come and learn. A nice saying, talis la'uman. You bring your suit to the dry cleaner. Literally your cloak, but we bring your suit to the dry cleaner. Gamaru vahodio. So he finishes the suit, he finishes the dry cleaning, and he sends you a text. Suit's ready to pick up. So there's a halacha that you cannot withhold wages from a poel. You cannot not pay a worker even overnight. If he finishes it today, you have to pay him today, and it's a diraisa dekadin. However, afilu mikan viad asara yomim eina over olav mishum lo salin. Even if you wait as many as 10 days to pick up your suit, you have not violated the rule of paying a poel on the day he completes the job. So apparently, he's an uman, he's not a poel. Because an uman, you can deal with him when you'll pay him. I'll pay when I pick it up. You have 10 days to leave it there. Okay? However, if the poel finishes the job before noon and delivers the suit to you, okay, kigon sheshaka alav hachama, you have. All right, we'll assume it's a false alarm. You have an. I don't know what that is. Why don't you go check? This is for worth $250,000 in there. So over love mishum bal solim. So if the workman finishes the job of the dry cleaning your suit and delivers it, and it's still plenty of time for you to round up the money during that day, then you are over bal solim. So maybe he is a poel. We see in this case a conflict. Is he a poel or is he an uman? Okay. If you were to say that the dry cleaner owns the improvement of a clean suit, so what we're talking about here is the hypothetical difference in value between a filthy, wrinkled suit and a beautiful, clean, pressed suit. And the word pressed is important here. Does the workman own that improvement? Okay, because if he owns the improvement, then he's clearly an uman. If he doesn't own the improvement, then we could question, is he an uman or a poet? Omer Reb Mari bereder Rav Kahana begarda the sark below. What we're talking about is a relatively new cloak that is sort of hand knit, so that the texture of the surface of the coat is rough. And what the uman or the poel did was press the garment with a heavy press, like the machine that they used to iron, and he smoothed the surface. So he really, the leka shvacha, that's not a real improvement. All he did was press the suit. So he took out the wrinkles. It's not a real improvement. So Gemara says, sof, bottom line, Lamai Yahava Nahale, why did the guy give him the suit? Right? Why did he turn the coat over to the Uman? L'rachucha. He did it in order to soften it when material is rigid and now you press it and it softens it. Kevan derachache hainu shvacha. That's already a real improvement. And if the craftsman owns the improvement, then you could pay him any time. But if he's considered a poel, you would have to pay him right away. So Gemara says, "Lo, that's not a proof of anything." Tzricha da agre de bitshe. What we're talking about is that he hired the guy to press the suit, but the guy was using, this is the analogy, a hand iron. So he said to him, look, I don't know how long it's going to take to press the suit. I'll give you $1 for each time you put the iron on the suit. And if it takes 10 times, I'll give you $10. It takes 14 times, I'll give you $14. Bitcha, b'ma'asa. So he's paying for each effort the workman makes. Hainu sechiros. So that's wages. That's pay for wages. That's not pay for a project. And therefore, okay. And therefore, he has to pay him that day. No, it's irrelevant if he goes to that dry cleaner all the time. It's what we're talking about. What is the nature of the arrangement between the worker and the boss? If the arrangement is that he's doing skilled labor and you're paying for the project, then he's a numa. If the arrangement is you're paying him either piecework or hourly, then it's wages. And the halacha of pay him today either applies or doesn't apply. Okay? Olamai salik adaite de ikora de lo agre lebicha biche. So when we originally thought that all he did was bring the suit to the dry cleaner to be cleaned, we were not thinking about hiring him on a piecework basis for how many times he has to press it with the iron. We were using him as a kablan. We were saying, do this project. When you're done, I'll pick it up and I'll pay you. So Messiah Leila Reb Sheshes. And now that understanding of what was happening is in support of Reb Sheshes, the boy mine Rav Sheshes, because they asked Rav Sheshes a shaila. Kablanus. If you have a contractual obligation, when you finish the job, I'll pay you. Okay. Over a love mishum baltalin. Do you have to pay a kablan the day he finishes the project? Okay. Oh, aina over. Or are you not violating if you pay him at the end of the month or the next day or something? V'omelahu Rav Sheshes over. He says a kablan also needs to be paid the same day he finishes the project. Now, that's where it's a verbal agreement. If you have a contractual agreement, for instance, you go to work and you're paid every 2 weeks. You get a paycheck every 2 weeks. You've agreed, he's agreed, so Baltalin doesn't apply. Or if you have a contractor and he says, I want 10% when I sign the contract and a third on various highlight, points of agreement, and then you have 30 days to complete the pay, then Baltalin doesn't apply. But if there's nothing discussed or nothing in writing, I mean, I don't know what's on the back of the dry cleaning slip, but then you are over Baltalin. So for example, you're over an Iser D'Oraisa. If your wife says to the cleaning lady, all I have is $100 bill, can I pay you next week? You're over Baltalin. She is allowed to say, I'll wait, drive to the bank, break the 100. or drive to the bank, take out cash.
What if she agrees?
Then you have a contract. Okay? She has more money than you do. She changes the 100. Okay. Lema de Rav Sheshes, pliga da Ravasi. So maybe Rav Sheshes is now arguing with Ravasi. Omer Shmuel bar Acha b'shilcha de igarita. What we're talking about here is a different kind of worker. Remember, the dry cleaner, there's an argument. Did he make an improvement? Does he own the improvement or does he not own the improvement? The builder of the wagon, he makes an improvement. The question is, does he own the improvement or do you just owe him the money for doing the work? But there are kinds of workers that there's no improvement, there's no issue of improvement. A courier. A courier takes the object from point A, brings it to point B. There's no change in the object at all. Amazon delivery man or the mailman. Mailman's a good example because you put a 52 cent or 60, whatever the current 68-cent stamp on the letter. That's the pay you give the mailman for delivering the mail. He doesn't make any change in the mail. He just takes it from here to there and gets paid a fee for doing that. So he makes no change in it, and you would have to pay him the day that he did the delivery. So if it's COD, you have to pay immediately. Okay, so Lema Katanai. Let's go back to the initial question. When you do work, do you own the improvement you make? Does the dry cleaner have a chelek because now you have a beautiful, shiny new suit where you brought him a wrinkled, dirty suit, and he owns the difference from what you would pay for a dirty old suit and a beautiful new clean suit? Or do you owe him money for his work, but he never owns any chelek in your suit? Maybe that's a machlokes tanayim. Aselo sherim nizamin utabaois. A woman, okay, I'll read the rest of it. A woman brings a 1 ounce gold ingot. We'll say it's $2,000 in today's money to a jeweler, to a goldsmith. And she says, make me earrings or a ring or a brooch, whatever. And the added value, because a ring or a brooch made of 1 ounce of gold is probably worth $3,000 or $4,000. It's not the raw gold. So there's an improvement when he does this work. So she says to the jeweler, here is 1 ounce of gold. Make me a pair of earrings, and I will consider the added value that you put in and when you give it back to me, that'll be the monetary gift you give me, and we'll be considered married. Okay? So a few questions come into play. One, we have this issue. Does he own the improvement? And two, we have another issue, which we're going to get to. If there's a loan involved, woman lends you $100, and then she says, I'll forgive the loan if you marry me. And I'll consider the $100 given back, and that's how you married me. Those are two issues, both of which are subject to a machlokes. So she Kevin Sha'asan Mukudeshes. So since he did the work and he added value, they are married when he gives back the earrings. Divrei Rabbi Meir. That's Rabbi Meir's point of view. Okay, v'chachamim omrim einu mikadeshes ad sheyagia maman liyoda, that the added value is not sufficient to be married He has to give her something of discernible value to marry her. That's the Chachamim's opinion. But they use an interesting word. They use the word mammon, money. Now, I never went to a wedding where somebody gave the girl a silver dollar. He always gives her a ring. So here, the ring represents the mammon, and the witnesses look at it and say, yeah, that's a real gold ring. You're married. Okay, so what does he mean by mammon? My mammon. What do they mean by mammon? Mammon. If you say that he gives back the gold that she gave him and he returns it to her, and the gold has a discernible real value. It's $2,000 an ounce on the world market. Miklal, the Rebbe Meir Sover also mammon, that the law that even that giving her, what is he giving her? She gave him the gold. He gave the gold back to her. He gave her nothing unless he owns the improvement. Okay? Elaba my Mikadsha, how did he marry her? Elapshita, my mammon. What are we talking about, mammon? Mammon acher. He gave, according to Reb Meir, by giving it back to her, he's giving her the value added of the construction of the earrings, and he used all that gold. He didn't save back any gold, so there's no complexities in the. So Reb Meir seems to hold that he owns the improvement. That's correct. You got it. V'savruha de kulei alma yishna l'schirus matchila v'ad sof. So now we're getting into this secondary issue. When a workman does a project that is completed over a period of time, is he accruing his pay or his earnings, whatever you want to call it, or does it all come at the very end? That's here over here. The kula alma hamakadesh memalva enu mikudeshes. Another point that we say, I hinted to this earlier, if by simply returning a loan, the woman lends you money, she says, in lieu of paying me back, marry me, you would not be married because he has to give her something that's his returning. So giving the gold back does not constitute a marriage, that's a loan. Okay, my love, ba'uman kaina b'shevach klei, so obviously, at this point anyway, the difference between Reb Meir and the Rabbanan is Reb Meir says he owns the improvement, and the Rabbanan say he doesn't. So if he owns the improvement, he can give her the improvement. That's the gift. If he doesn't, he can't, and that could be the machlokas. The Reb Meir sover umen koine b'shevach kali, that he improves it and he owns the improvement. Rabbanan sovre ein umen koine b'shevach kali, that there is no own instant of ownership on his part. He just owes him more money to fix the thing or make the thing, and that's their argument. Sounds good, but the Gemara says low, not so. The kula alma ein umen koine b'shevach kli. Everybody agrees, even Reb Meir, that the worker does not own the improvement. Now, this is a contradiction to what we said a day ago with Ravasi, who said the human does own. Okay, when we were talking about the boat and fixing the boat. What they're arguing about is at what point in the project does the workman have the right to ask for the money? Does he accrue his money from the beginning of the project on, or does he only get it at the end? Rabbi Meir Sover ein schirus elav lebesoif. Rabbi Meir holds that you get your pay at the end of the job. And what is the end of the job? When you hand her the earrings. So by handing her the earrings and not taking money from her, for the making. He's giving her the making money. V'Rabbanan sover yesh l'schirus mitchilas miad sof. That he's been always all along acquiring the earnings of making the earrings, and so now it's a loan. She owes him to pay back for the effort he gave her all along, and it's a simple loan, and they're not married. Okay, Iboy Same, a different way of looking at this is the Kuli Alma Yishna L'Schiris Mitchilas Ad Saif. Everybody agrees you accrue your earnings as you do the project, and b'mekadesh b'malva kamifligi. What they're arguing about is, can you use a loan to effectuate a marriage? Reb Meir Omer Mekadesh B'Malva Mikudeshes. If we forgive the loan or you pay back the loan, then you could be married. Rabbanan Asavre Mekadesh B'Malva Einu Mikudeshes. That you cannot marry a woman by having her forgive your loan. All right, it's already 9:32, so I guess we'll have to stop here. I apologize.
That's a code that you have to start.
Yeah, because I have to make the children, and I have projects.
Oh, you're right.
But it is so interesting to me.
Will you get paid as you make the challenge, or will you be paid only?
My wife pays me as I make the children.
But come on tomorrow. What?
Just give me a compliment. Just give me a compliment. I said, you do make good children. I forgot
Yeah,
that.
and we owe you an invite.
Think I
We'll just go
owe
a
you
little
half
bit
an hour.
further, so we won't take too much time. The Rava Masav, the Kuli Alma, Yeshna Espilut, Espilah B'Yatzov. So Rava holds the view that this is the accruing of the wages, as Michael was explaining to us, and therefore it's more like a loan situation. The Kuli Alma, the Kadesh B'Malva, and Namakudosh. Okay, and therefore he said that the attempt to marry or betroth the woman by means of a loan, okay, does not work. And now Nikudesh. Udekuli Alma Ein Omer Poneh B'Shabbat Kli. And also he's saying that in his view, says Rava, that the improvements that the artisan may make in regards to the product that he's working on, it does not guarantee his acquisition of it, like Rabbi Asi's view. So what happens? Elahachi b'mayas. But what are we talking about here? The going to hosuf la nofek mishalah. Why? Because what we're talking about is that he actually added a jewel to some of the jewelry, which was his. And so by adding something that is his own property, as a result, he is then going to be able to mikadesh, to betroth her. Rabbi Meir Tabar, Malveh Ukuta. So Rabbi Meir holds, on the other hand, that through the loan and by adding a little bit more to the loan, Da'ata Aptuta, her mindset is focused on that small additional amount, and therefore that's why the Kiddushin would be valid. Okay? Rabbanan Savre, Malve Ukuta, Data Amalve. But the rabbis of the opinion that with regards to a loan and a little bit extra money, her focus is on the loan, and therefore we're saying already that that doesn't apply. Okay, and therefore he can't betroth. And in this argument among these Tanaim, the Tanya is they taught the schar asiti ima. Okay, with regards to the idea of any income, okay, that I've done for you, eina mekudesh, that she's not betrothed. Schar she'aseh ima, But if he were to say to her, any work that I will do for you in the future, Mikudeshin. Therefore, because he's doing something that he's putting into the situation, okay, then that betrothal would.
Before it doesn't count.
So he could, his added improvement is the work.
Therefore, it's
It's maybe mechanics
done
the
for
work.
the work that he's done.
Yeah.
For the other. Rabbi Natsan on there, she said, "B'schar she'esa'ima," he disagrees. It says, well, if he says in the future work that I will be doing for you, and it's adding to it, a namikudeshet, it does not mean that she's betrothed. The closure came to Skasha Asidima, and certainly any statement of work that he's done from the okay, at the end again to finish up. The Rebbe says, what does Rebbe say? Okay, Rebbe Yehuda Hanasi on there, he says, Be'emet Alu. In truth, this is what they were really saying. Bein b'skasha asiti ima. Whether it was the work that I had done for you, bein b'skasha asayim, or whether it's work that I'm going to do for you, einam mikudeshet, she is not going to be betrothed. V'im hosif lenofek mishalo, but if he were to have added a jewel of his own to the items that he was mikudeshet, then she would be betrothed. Ma'ika ben Tanakama leRabbi Nassim. So what then is the difference between Tanakama and Rabbi Nassim's statements? The Beinayu Schilud, there is this issue of the accruing of the wages. Bein Rabbi Nassim and Rabbi Yehuda Hanassim. What's the difference between them? Ika Beinayu Malve Ukuta. The difference between them is the situation of trying to say whether she would be betrothed, married, based on the loan and some small amount of money, whether they agree or not. And that's where we'll stop right
So that should be good because as long as it's approved, he's got it.
Go ask Rabbi Green, speak to him.
Married to Rachel and Leah on the basis of 7 years of work.
Right.
And a good Kurdish.
I worked for you for 7 years. What are you doing?
They should nip the side of my business.
Go ask Rabbi Green, speak to him.
Keep
asking those three questions. Now you're talking more.
Okay, yeah. What arrangement did you make in terms of that? Did you make under? That's where you like the example of the guy who took a hired class. Or did you hire him?
What time tomorrow?
It says on the, whatever it says on the schedule. You gotta get, yeah. 3:40, 3:30. I mean, over there in the basement.
Yeah, it was Kodesh finished davening and the got yomi by 9:30. You know, that coffee is much better in the machine. Much better. Coffee, much better.
Okay, Shabbat Shalom. Marty, I'll see you in the morning. I'm going to Wolverton.
Oh, you eating out tonight?
No, I'm down already. A religious meeting in Wolverton. Wolverton A. I'm from my street tonight at A.
Yeah.
Here's that shot. I got the footage.
Rabbi Abraham, have a wonderful Kodesh.
You too.
Yeah.
There's a real change in toward sending it. Okay, so what happens, I've changed the nature of the item, and we learned that it's changing the nature of the item, especially when it gives a new name, seems to try a change. It's amazing. You see what you've been missing all these years?
Yes, I love it. Brilliant. So I used to get the pieces of wool and I made packets for the maid. We made peacoats, so sewing buttons, collars, so who would get the change?
So you all, so you would get, okay, so you got the cloth.
Yeah.
Right? And then you do things to make it into a real garment. Okay, so in other words, so that change in the nature is what you were being paid for, because you were paid for the transition from cloth to an actual garment. So you were being paid for your work.
No, they gave us, okay, they didn't get paid until within.
And after you were working as a contractor. Okay, so therefore, that's why the Gemara is saying, then as contract work, okay, you don't have to pay till the job is complete. As opposed to a day labor, okay, as opposed to piece meal. I don't know if your contract was for each jacket that you made, you got X amount of money, or if they said to you, okay, when you deliver 400 jackets to the central place, that's when we pay. Right? So that's the example.
That was compliment. Thank you, and that was compliment. No, because the government. The
Government is probably is.
it's different. They was on the wall by the towns.
Right.
Wait, they would give you the well,
They would by the pound, they would give me a ton.